going on, guys? Cat, Torque Tested YouTube channel. There's going to be no Jeeps in this video. There's going to be no Arsene in this video. We're going to be talking about hammock backpacking, and more specifically, my Hennessy Hyperlite and the changes that I've made to the hammock, the suspension, to how I sleep with insulation under me, and to the tarp. And I'll show you guys what I've done. I didn't come up with any of this stuff, guys. I found it all on YouTube, all on hammock forums, and I decided that these changes would help me. I tried them out, and they work great for me. Maybe they won't work great for you, but that's the beauty of hammocking. You can find out what works great for you and use that. So let's get right into it. We'll see what I did. Grabbing the hammock out of my Osprey Atmos AG65. I like the pack. We'll get into, maybe I'll do some other videos if you guys like this stuff, but the AG65 works for me. It's a little heavy, but it's really comfortable and has a lot of weight capacity, so you can use it in the winter. Here we have my Hennessy Hyperlite. As you can see, it's packed in the Hexfly stuff sack. It's the first change that I made to my kit. So initially when I got the hammock, I ordered an extra set of snakeskins, and I put the hammock in those, and I'd roll it up and stuff it in my pack. No big deal. I did mark one end, the head end, with orange dots of nail polish. That was so I could get to camp and set it up in the orientation that I wanted on the first try. Worked really well for me. I like the snakeskins to be able to throw the hammock out on the wet ground. Got a plane. Thanks, plane. So I would throw the snakeskins out on the wet ground, not worry about it. The one thing I did worry about consistently was water getting inside the snakeskins, maybe from dripping down the suspension, maybe from some extra rain. In the worst case scenario, if you don't roll them up and they're outside your tarp, I picture them being funnels of water. It's probably overkill, right? I don't think that's going to actually happen, but that was something I was consistently worried about. So I looked for a different solution. Shug Emery, his link will be, link to his YouTube will be in the description. Like I said, I'm sure you've all seen him if you're here, but the Black Bishop bag. So basically you cut a hole in one end of the suspension, one end of the bag, and the suspension comes through just like that. And it's an open-ended sack, so basically you tie up one end, play the hammock out of the bag, and tie up the other end, keep it off the ground. Easy to pack up too. It's kind of my favorite part. And as you can see, to my second change, we have a continuous loop of amp steel. My suspension is now 8-inch continuous loops. I got these from Dutch. You can make your own, or in a pinch, you can use the Spectra line, tie a double sheet bend, cut like 16, 17 inches of the Spectra, tie a double sheet bend into loops, and Lark's head those onto your hammock suspension with the Hyperlite. That will hang you. From experience, I can tell you it worked for me. Just make sure you tie that double sheet bend correctly. So I use continuous loops, red for head, blue for shoe. Thanks, Shug. But we'll get into what I use with these in a sec. I'll break those out. It's mule tape. I got it from Anti-Gravity Gear. I got the whole set. It's like 15-foot lengths. And I like the stuff really well. And you tie a Becket Hitch. We'll get into that right now. Let's get it. All right, so tree strap, mule tape. There's loops sewn onto the ends already. Really convenient. It's kind of why I went with the set from Anti-Gravity Gear. Highly recommended if you're going to go with something like this. And you just Lark's head it to your tree strap right there. And then I've got 15 feet of suspension. Now, this is how I hang my hammock. I hang it with a Becket Hitch on this loop, on the loops on each end. I'll show you how that works. Why I like it is this is really light. The Becket Hitch is really easy to tie. It's quick to adjust the tension or the location of the tie out. It creates its own drip loop, drip line, which is kind of my favorite part. And again, it's really light. The mule tape is great for this because it's slick. It comes undone really simple. Not simple, like sometimes you got to give it a nice snap, but it comes undone after the hammock's been loaded relatively easily. I'll show you guys all that. All right, so we have my mule tape and tree strap. They're figure-eighted together. I don't have any carabiners or Dutch clips that would make this way quicker and easier. Eventually, maybe I'll do something like that. I try to keep my kit as hardware-free as possible. There are some things I will get into that are definitely an advantage, and I think I'll be adding them to my kit. But for now, let's get this tree strap on this tree. All right, one more time because it was dark over there. You hold the strap basically where you want it. You look back, say, yeah, that's about where it goes. Play this out nice and easy. This is a little tougher because this tree's big, right? I'm gonna walk it out to be a little higher. There we go. I'm just gonna walk this one because the tree's a little bigger. And again, the key is to not let go of this bundle. The mule tape will stick to the bark as you're trying to ravel it around the tree. Real pain. Make sure you get your figure 8 here and don't let it go. Oh, look at that, we're there already because the tree's so big. Yes, slippage of the strap, we'll take care of that, like this. So that's both straps. Now we'll get the hammock up. All right, so we're gonna set up the hammock. Mule tape up through the loop. Tie the Becket hitch. The Becket hitch, you're gonna loop, a continuous loop, and pull a bite. It's really that simple, guys. Now the key to this knot, to checking that this knot is correctly tied, is that you will see the end of the continuous loop here. You can see the red showing. Now I'm gonna tie this wrong so you guys can see what it looks like when it's wrong. If you loop the suspension, this is wrong. Do not do this to tie your hammock. This will slip and you will fall. If you loop the suspension like I'm doing, this will slip, and as you can see, you don't see the continuous loop. Bad. Do not do that. Loop the continuous loop as I am doing here. Pull that up right there, and you will see the end of the continuous loop. This will not slip, I'm confident. Now we'll play the hammock out of the Black Bishop bag, hang the other end. Careful not to let it touch the ground, especially on a day like today. It rained all day. Now I can tell I'm gonna have to make some slight adjustments here, so I'm not worried about this knot too much, but I'll tie it correctly every time. Right? Now I know I gotta let some out of this end, and the knot comes out that easy. So I'll let some out. Hammock still smells like fire, I love it. And pull this up. It's a little tight of a hang, but I don't mind. Not bad. So as you can see, the Becket hitch is real simple and easy to tie. Real simple and easy to adjust. Once you get used to tying it, tie it in a split second. Really, it's that easy. It's really easy to check if it's tied correctly. That's another great advantage to this knot. Once it's tied like that, it's not coming undone. I'm confident I could lay in this hammock all day, never have that come undone. And it comes undone extremely easily. It's another great advantage. Air traffic. But my favorite part, really, is that this becomes your drip loop, your drip line. So the water will run down the mule tape, it'll get to here, and it will drip down here. The other thing you can do if you want is you can tie off some half hitches here. This will drip, right? And then you could have it just drip everywhere if you want, but I'm confident in this system. I've been out in the rain in it and never gotten wet. So in terms of suspension, that's what I've changed on the Hennessy Hyperlite. I think it's a lot better than having the Spectra attached permanently to here, because if that's wet and you got to pack it with the hammock, you might have a wet hammock the next day, and that's not fun. You don't want that. So the Spectra, I feel, is strong, it's light, it's easy to tie, it's easy to untie, and I love the Becket hitch. So when you combine all that, I think this is a great system for any Hennessy, any hammock. You can do this to basically any gathered end. So I like it. It's a great change for me. Maybe it doesn't work for you. Now the thing is, with these continuous loops, you have a ton of options. You can go with a beetle buckle type suspension from Dutch. You can go with like cinch buckles. There's a lot of different things you can hang. You can use to hang your continuous loops from your hammock. So it's a very versatile system. It's another advantage. Again, blue for shoe, red for head, Black Bishop bag right here. I can stuff some things in. And really, it's that easy. So the next thing I'm going to get into that I changed from my kit. Now, let's get into the reason I bought my Hennessy. The reason I have a Hennessy Hyperlite and a Hennessy Hex is because when I did my research into backpacking, I'd never been backpacking, and I decided I wanted to go hammock backpacking. So I found the Hennessy systems, and I like the tie-outs. They looked appealing. I didn't know about some of the other cottage vendors and stuff out there, but they had a sale going on where they included the 70D Hex instead of the Diamond. So for me, I didn't want the Diamond. I was kind of afraid of it. I was happy to snag the whole set relatively affordably and give this whole thing a try. So I knew that I needed some bottom insulation. And so, not knowing if I was going to stick with this, I went with the cheapest thing I could find, basically. And Hennessy sells a decent thing here. There goes the tarp. Here's the bubble pad, the Radiant Double Bubble from Hennessy, and I sewed a fleece blanket to it. I would just lay right in there. That'll keep me warm down to about 40 degrees. It comes with all the same issues as sleeping with any pad does. When you're in a hammock, you got condensation, shifting, and things like that. I find it pretty comfortable. I've slept 7 hours straight in an Eno double nest with that thing under me, and I stayed warm. It was about 40 degrees and rainy. Not bad. Light, cheap, effective. You are gonna have condensation issues. You might get that cold butt, throw your foot pad under there, but it works and it's cheap. The one thing I really hate about it is carrying it. I typically roll it up in a tube-ish type form, jam it in the top of my pack, and then jam things inside of there. It works pretty good, guys. I did move on to an underquilt. I got a Jax or Better Greylock 3. It's a 3/4 length. I'm gonna hang it real quick to show you guys what's up with that and why I think it's a good option. So let me grab that. Pull it out of the stuff sack it comes with. It's a pretty good little compression sack. You squeeze it down, see it'll pack down really low. It's a small, it's about 17 ounces. They say 20 to 25 degrees, I believe. It lofts up really big. I think it'll do 15 degrees. What do I know? I haven't been out that cold, so. It hangs pretty easy. There's some changes I made that I found on the good old YouTubes, back to the old Shug videos. Just got carabiners, mini beaners on this shock cord suspension. And that's that. It's pretty dang close to where it'll sit. And it'll loft up real nice. You guys will see later in the video how puffy it'll be. Now, adjusting the underquilt, especially a 3/4 length, it's a bit finicky. What I found is you definitely want it pulled up way higher than you're ever going to expect that you need it. You want it up against your body the whole way. And since I'm short, you come over here. You can see how far I pulled this out on this suspension. That's because I can actually get my feet in there. And if you can't get your feet in a 3/4 length underquilt, use your sit pad as a foot pad. Jam that under your feet. Inflatables work really well because you can squish them between your heels. That's what I found. Some people won't want to carry that, but I find it really useful. Now, the other change that's extremely key with these underquilts that I found is putting some type of secondary suspension. This is from Shug and Jax or Better. Both have a video with this exact same thing on YouTube. But you can see it's just a prusik of shock cord tied to the end loop here. That's it. That's all. And you can adjust it, slide it, and that's how this is tensioned so snugly. Now, the other thing you can do is grab a tie out here, and I find this pretty useful for this end because this is where my shoulder lays, is to pass the pull out for the hammock through this loop, and you can tie this off. You see how that'll basically match up the end of the hammock with the end of the underquilt. Your shoulder will sit right in here perfectly. So that's something I found kind of works really well for me with the 3/4 length underquilt. So I'll get in, you guys can see what's up. A little low, not too bad. It's wet, so I'll get the shoes off. All right, so one thing you guys might notice is that I look like I'm on quite an angle here. It's because I am. I like my foot end hung higher than my head end. For me, that like eliminates calf ridge, and I feel like I'm in a more natural sleeping position. Some people say that all that does, planes. Some people say all that does is slide you into the sweet spot of the hammock. Well, I'm cool with that. 6 to 12 inches works for me. It's not an exact science. You can see this is snugged up nice to my shoulder. The suspension doesn't affect my head when I'm in the hammock. And it actually reaches to my feet. All this is snugged up pretty good to me. I could do a little better tightening it up. But it's, you know, it's a warm day, so if I was actually going to be staying here, I wouldn't really want all the warmth that this underquilt offers, because I'd be sweating. You can already feel the warmth on my shoulders. See how easy it is to pull up? Get to here. Comfy. Onto the tarp. As you can see, my tarp is wrapped in good old snake skins. Wrapped around it is the continuous ridgeline I use. This is MSR utility rope. It's what I had. It's what I could get at REI, so I snagged it. So I run one continuous ridgeline. I'll show you what that looks like. And there's prusik knots on the line that hook to the D-rings of the tarp. That's how I tension the tarp. What I like about it is it's really easy to center over the hammock. You can see here I'm just slightly off, but it's pretty good. And I like, my favorite part is the rigidity that it adds when you string the tarp over the continuous ridgeline. You do have the option to run the tarp under the continuous ridgeline. For me, I find over is really nice. It gives you a lot of headroom, and it holds that structural rigidity of the A-frame style pitch really well. So it's wrapped up in the continuous ridgeline. I'll unwrap it. This tarp is a little big. It's the 70D. It's a little heavy. It's really durable. I strapped this to the outside of my pack. Throw it out. I don't use any hardware. That's a Himalayan hitch. Go ahead and look it up. It's a good knot. This line's really sticky on the bark. It's pretty tight. Taut tarp hitch. Say that'll work, huh? See how high this is? Maybe it's a little high. You can see already how that's going to hold the middle of this tarp up really high. As I pitch, it'll come down. Bring it in for this other change here. It's 100% optional. Maybe you guys don't want to do this. I got shock cord loops here on the D-ring pullouts, and I only tied to 2 of them. One here, one on the diagonal. I feel like gives me the perfect amount of give, especially if you trip on a line, even on one that's fixed. You can, so I tie 2 to the shock cord, 2 solid to the loops. I do have the shock cord on all 4 loops. Can't add that much weight, right? Gives you some options in setup. I'm gonna break out the stakes, pitch it down, finish up this setup. All right, so the final change that I made in my setup, I took the lines off of the D-rings and I leave them permanently attached to the stakes permanently. It's just a clove hitch that holds them on there. I find it really hard to lose a stake. It's basically the only advantage. If you have a small stake bag, you might not want to do this, or at least make sure your stakes fit before you do, because this adds a bit of bulk to your stake bag. But I like it, works for me. I find that you will never lose a stake with 6 feet of yellow zinget on it. So I'm gonna tie this up. I use just an adjustable sliding guy line knot. I don't know the exact name. Look up that on YouTube. I'm sure you can find it. You guys are here, right? All right, so we're all set up. See how high this thing pitches when you use a continuous ridge line. We're staked out. See the perfect amount of give that those 2 elastics give you. Come on inside. Show you how much room's in this thing. I can stand up nice and easy. Plenty of coverage. I would be pretty confident, as long as the wind was broadside to me, that I'd stay dry in here. I guess it's about nap time, since I'm here, right? Thanks for watching, guys. Hope you guys learned something, take something away from this that maybe you could apply to your kit, whether it's a Hennessy system or another system, or maybe you're looking into the Hennessy system, or maybe you have a Hennessy system and you want to make some of these changes. Maybe you don't want to make any of these changes. I don't know, guys. Throw some comments in the bottom here, and we'll get to discussing some of your changes maybe, and some of the things you think I did wrong maybe. I don't know. Throw it out there and we'll get to talking. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys on the trail. Take it easy.